Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. The USS Focal Point making its turn, heading toward harbor. In 13 short minutes from now, you will be free to move about the weekend as we return you to shore leave, hearing from my faithful crew down in the boiler room, sloshing around down there in the bilge. Jeff, Rob, and Westy, they are all ready for their shore leave to come. Now, John Boehner has said, we're going to get amnesty done. Paul Ryan says, hey, I don't have the votes yet, but I'm working on it. We're going to get her done. So the Republican leadership, again, we just saw them. They cheated. And remember this, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody accuses me, you're just a homer. You just cheer for the Republicans. You never criticize them. You're just a cheerleader. You're just a fanboy for the Republican Party. The Republican Party cheated to get that Medicare law passed. They cheated. They broke the rules. That was just cheap politics. So we just remember that when somebody says, I just play for the home team all the time. That just absolutely aggravates me, because if one party ought to have higher standards on this kind of stuff, playing by the rules, it ought to be the Republican Party. So we've got this problem with illegal immigration. I've got another story here about what happens when you don't have a secure border. Michael Volpe, WND.com, a radical immigration policy under which local law enforcement agencies have been told to ignore orders to hand over custody of illegal alien criminals for possible deportation has led to the death of a teenager in Illinois. Eric Maya, 23, currently being held by authorities in Romeoville, Illinois, a suburb 30 miles southwest of Chicago, after being arrested and charged with the murder of his 15-year-old girlfriend and the attempted murder of her mother in February. Brianna Valig died after being shot twice in the head. Her mother was injured. Maya's encounters with police now, this guy's an illegal criminal alien. His encounters with police date back at least to October of 2011. That's 2.5 years ago, when he was arrested for assaulting another 15-year-old in Berwyn, Illinois, a suburb in South Cook County. He was sentenced to 60 days in prison, which he served at the Cook County Jail. So, okay, the guy's committed a crime. This is assault. I don't know if it's felony assault or not, but you ought to be deported for just being here illegally. If you commit an assault, criminally, for sure you ought to be deported. He was sentenced to 60 days in prison, served it at the county jail, and they let him go when his time was up. According to Gail Montenegro, an immigration and customs enforcement official for Illinois, ICE placed a detainer on Maya at the time of his arrest. Normally, inmates with detainers like Maya, instead of being released following their sentence, would be transferred to ICE, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and ultimately deported. But in September of 2011, Cook County adopted a radical ordinance that prevents Cook County jail officials from cooperating with ICE on any detainer, even ones for individuals involved in violent offenses like Maya. Montenegro told WND that Maya simply was released rather than being turned over to ICE after his sentence was served at Cook County Jail. So he was released, went out in the community, and now a 15-year-old girl is dead and her mother is in the hospital. That's a girl. If we had sensible immigration policy that was enforced, if we had a secure border, that girl would be alive today. Now here is Joe Biden, clip number 7, and listen to what Joe Biden has to say about illegal aliens.
7 million people living in the shadows, I believe they're already American citizens. Teddy Roosevelt said it better. He said, Americanism is not a question of birthplace or creed or a line of descent. It's a question of principles, idealism, and character. These people are just waiting for a chance to be able to contribute fully. And by that standard, 11 million undocumented aliens are already Americans, in my view.
All right, so Joe Biden says, look, they're already American citizens. He uses the word they're not. They're criminal aliens. They're criminal trespassers. They've broken our law. If they've come across twice, that's a felony. Once is a misdemeanor, twice is a felony. So a lot of these people are felons. They've committed felony offenses, trespassing on American soil. They are not American citizens, but according to Joe Biden, yeah, he thinks that they are. Another story here out of Texas where illegal immigrants are being released into Texas to ease overcrowding of detention centers. U.S. Border Patrol agents, in conjunction with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, recently disclosed the increasing practice of releasing low-threat illegal immigrant detainees to address the overcrowding of immigration detention centers in South Texas. Well, how do you address the overcrowding of immigration detention centers? You deport them. What they're doing instead is they are just releasing them into Texas. So they're illegal aliens. They have been detained, and they're just released to roam about the state of Texas. Jeff Sessions reporting that, in essence, the Obama administration has already given de facto amnesty to 12 million Americans. You just heard Joe Biden basically saying the same thing. Newsmax, the Obama administration has changed the enforcement of immigration laws to protect most illegal immigrants from deportation. So most of the 12 million illegal immigrants have no fear of deportation under Obama. This gives the nation's roughly 12 million illegal immigrants de facto amnesty. I mean, there's no point in the Republicans doing this legally. It's already been done by President Obama just by refusing to uphold the law. The report found that a 2012 Department of Homeland Security directive significantly narrowed the scope of deportation criteria, limiting it mainly to illegal immigrants with a criminal conviction. Notice, not an arrest, but a criminal conviction. You don't get deported unless you actually get convicted of a crime. Now realize that's expensive for taxpayers. You've got jails that have to hold these people. You have prosecutors that have to be paid. You have public defenders that have to be paid due to this nonsensical Supreme Court ruling. You have buildings that have to be heated and lights that have to be paid for, and court stenographers and bailiffs and all. That's an expensive proposition when these people should be simply deported rather than released. The deportations are limited primarily to those who were physically caught crossing the border. Now, what the Obama administration is doing is they are counting these as deportations. It's totally fictitious. The way that President Obama is able to beat his chest and talk about how many people he has deported is if they apprehend somebody trying to cross the border and they turn them back, the Obama administration is counting that as a deportation. No administration before has ever done that. The only deportations that counted for statistical purposes is when you apprehended somebody in the interior of the United States and you took them to the border and sent them back home. That's what a deportation is. But the Obama administration, if they get apprehended at the border and turned back, they count that as a deportation. Well, it's nothing of the sort, but that's the way in which President Obama is able to pretend that he's tougher on immigration than President Bush. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Dwight, St. Petersburg, Florida. Dwight, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, I don't know if you remember me calling back in February.
Yes, sir.
The Alex Sink and David Jolly. For one thing, I asked for prayer, and I appreciate it. We did win, as you well know now.
Yes, that was
However,
a great.
It was not that big of a win. I live here. I'm listening to the local rhetoric and the local news and all that. It was not that big of a win. He didn't win by that much a percentage. For one thing, he was known here, maybe not known in the United States. He was known here because of the other congressmen that young that died, and so that's one reason why he got in. But also, Alex Sink had a bad record here. So my warning basically is, it's not just about Obamacare. They're over here saying that they're trying to get Sink back in there because they think all the Republicans have is Obamacare. The people out there that are voters got to realize we need candidates in there, not only just for Obamacare, but also for all the other issues that are important. They just like the one you just got to talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And but anyway, I do like to thank everybody for the prayer. And I normally have never been so happy for an election. When I heard he won, I just jumped for joy. I mean, I really was, because I had to actually search out my voting place because I've been kind of disabled, and I've been voting by mail. But
yeah, all right, Dwight. Well, listen, thank you for your call, and that was a good win, only by a couple of percentage points, but a win is a win. There are no moral victories in politics. A win's a win. and there was a libertarian in the race that drew about almost 5 points. Most of those votes probably would have gone to David Jolly. So a win is a win. Let's close with a call from Ryan in Delaware, Ohio. Ryan, welcome. Got about a minute. What's on your mind?
Hi, how's it going?
Good,
I'm
Ryan.
a first-time caller.
Great. What's on your mind?
Well, I had some thoughts about an earlier caller. I think his name was Skyler. He was a 15-year-old commenting about a debate he had with an atheist over things like the Big Bang Theory, the laws of thermodynamics. I was kind of concerned. Let me just say first, I'm a father. I'm a science enthusiast. It matters very much to me that my children get a good education, that they get an accurate scientific education.
Correct.
And as
Likewise.
Talking, it's very great to see 15-year-olds, so interested in science, but he was conflating a lot of different things and passing some misinformation, specifically on the laws of thermodynamics.
Well, give me one quick misinformation item that he passed on.
For example, a lot of people point to the second law of thermodynamics as pointing out issues with the universe happening naturalistically, evolution, et cetera, by saying, the entropy of an isolated system does not decrease, which is tending to mean disorder, but it's that only applies to an isolated system. Which
but hold it. But Ryan, and we're out of time, so I wish we had more time. Hope you call back next week and we can talk some more. But listen, Ryan, you say it only applies in a closed system. Well, number one, according to Carl Sagan, the universe is a closed system. Carl Sagan is the one that says this is it. This is all there is. It's an enclosed system. So we're in an enclosed system. So you've got an aberration then. Because you don't have any energy coming from outside this closed system. You got to have some mechanism to turn that energy into an advanced form of life. Just having the energy isn't enough. Focal Point, AFR Talk. See you on Monday. Have a great weekend.